Now it's time for your assignment. This is what I want you to do. We have to style 3 buttons so they look exactly like on this project. We have 3 buttons here and they look exactly like this. And when we hover our mouse cursor on them, they're changing like this. They get different background color and a font color. Now I've prepared a document for you. It's a simple starting document. You can create it in your own code editor in a moment. All we have in our body tag are 3 A tags with the href attribute as a hash, which will do nothing after clicking it, and the text button 1, button 2, and button 3 typed as it is. Of course, our starting point will look exactly like this. That's how the A tags look in the HTML by default. And this is the ending effect that we should go to. That's how our buttons should look. Now you can see that I created buttons not from the button tag, but from the A tag. And this is a second way of creating buttons on our website. We usually use the button tags when we want to submit some changes on our website, or submit a form, or accept some terms of a privacy policy or cookie policy, or if we want to go to a different area of our website. And usually we place the A tags as the buttons if we want to direct the user somewhere else, for example to some other website or to some other subsite of our website. So once again, this is what I want you to place in your body tag, 3 A tags. This is how it's going to look like by default. This is the effect we want to get. You can create a style tag in your head tag like this. You can create a rule referring to all the A tags on our website, and here you can place all your styles except of the last style, because as I showed you, we want our buttons to change when we hover on it. So we have to use the pseudo class hover. So we have to create a new CSS rule, but that shouldn't be a problem to you at this point. And this is something that you should do at the end of this assignment. Now, if you don't remember some property, you can also Google it. It's completely normal. We are not able to remember by heart everything. All we need to know is that something is possible to be made with our CSS. We should know that. We should know that something like this actually exists. We should remember that we saw something like this. And with that knowledge, we can easily find it on the internet and get the proper property name with their value that we want to achieve on our website. So don't worry about it. You can use Google, and you will be using Google in your work and study the whole time. So don't get worried about it. Now let's read the guidelines of our assignment. Task number 1, turn off the underline. Because as we can see, we have this underline by default made for the A tag by the browser. So first thing we need to do is to get rid of it. The second task, set the A buttons so that you can control their size, but they are lined up next to each other in one line. As we know, the A tag is inline by default, and we have to change its property from inline to another so that we could be able to style them like this, controlling their size and appearance, but that they still be next to each other in one line. We've learned this property a moment ago. Task number 3, change the background color to black, as we can see. Task number 4, change the font color to orange and the font size to 24 pixels, which should be simple as well. Task number 5, use the Arial font. That shouldn't be a problem either. Task number 6, set the text in the buttons in uppercase. We should already know this. Task number 7, set the width of A element to a fixed value of 260 pixels in such a way that changing the padding and border does not affect the width of this element. set the box sizing property to the correct value. We know the box sizing property, we know its default value, and we have to change the value of the box sizing property so that we can set the width of our 8 elements to 260 pixels, and then after adding padding and border, our elements will still be 260 pixels wide. Task number 8, add the padding at the top and the bottom of the buttons at 20 pixels. Task number 9, center the text in the button. So this is a property related to the text. We should already know it. Task number 10, add a 3 pixels thick border that is orange and solid. So we have to set the border of our buttons, and that shouldn't be a problem either. Task number 11, set the margin of the buttons to 20 pixels on the top and the bottom, and 15 pixels on the left and the right. There should be no magic neither, so you should manage it with no problem. And the last 12th task, when you hover, sudo class hover, as we remember, over a button, its background color should change to black and its font color should change to gray. Wait a minute, I think this color is not black. No, it's getting lighter when we hover on it. So it's dark gray. So let me change this. It should be this color, I think. When you hover over a button, its background color should change to 333 in a hex number, and its font color should change to gray. And I think this is the effect we have right here. So sorry for that, but this is the whole assignment now, with no errors in it. So I will leave you with it. You can pause the video to check on screen for the guidelines, for our task list, and the final effect to see the comparison between your project and my final project. So now please pause the video, do this assignment by your own, and I'll be back in a moment with my way of solving this assignment. Good luck. I hope you managed to do this assignment by your own. I hope it wasn't too hard for you. And now I will show you how I would solve this assignment. Let's close this final effect for now. Here I have the starting point of our assignment. So now let's get to work. First task, turn off the underline. Let's go to our style tag, to our CSS rule. And what we want to do is to use the text decoration property. We have it underlined right now, and we want to set it to none, like this. Let's save our file, and our underline disappeared. Task number 2, set the A buttons so that you can control their size, but that they are lined up next to each other in one line. As we know by default, the A tag has the display property with the value of inline, as we already know, and we want to change it to inline block so that we could style them, but they will set themselves next to each other in one line because the block value will set them one below each other, and we don't want that. So the inline block is the solution for us. Now the third task, change the background color to black. Let's change it. Background color black. Save the file. We can see the effect. What's next? Change the font color to orange and the font size to 24 pixels. No problem. Color property, orange, and font size to 24 pixels. Like this. Let's save it. And we can see the effect already on our monitor. Let's go to the next task. Use the Arial font. No problem. Let's use a font family property with the Arial value. Let's save it and we can see the difference. Let's go to the next task. Set the text in the buttons in uppercase. No problem with that as well. What we need to use is the text transform property with the uppercase value. Save our file and we can see it already. Let's check what was next. Set the width of an A element to a fixed value of 260 pixels in such a way that changing the padding and border does not affect the width of this element. So set the box sizing property to a correct value. So let's set it. Box sizing, which is by default set to content box, and we want to change it to the border box. Exactly like this. Nothing changed for now because we didn't add any padding or border, and we didn't set the width of our elements as well. But I'll show you the difference when we'll get to that. So let's set the width of our element 260 pixels like this. We can see the difference on our screen. Let's see what was next to do. Add the padding at the top and the bottom of the buttons at 20 pixels. No problem with that. Let's set our padding to 20 pixels at the top and the bottom and 0 at the left and the right. Let's see the effect and voila. Let's see what's next to do. Center the text in the button. So we have this text align property and we should use the value of center so that our text in the button is supposed to be centered. Exactly as you can see on your screen right now. Let's see what else. Add a 3 pixels thick border that is orange and solid. So let's do this. We should use it right here. Border with the values of 3 pixels, solid, orange. Let's see the effect and voila. Now let's see what's next to do. Set the margin of the buttons to 20 pixels on the top and the bottom and 15 pixels on the left and the right. 20 pixels and 15 pixels. So let's place it after our padding. We wanted to have 20 pixels at the top and the bottom and 15 pixels at the left and the right. Let's see the effect. And this is the effect we'll get. Let's see what else we have to do in this assignment. The last one task related to our hover pseudo class. But before we do that, I want to show you the difference between using the border box value of box sizing and the default content box. You can see the difference. It's not so much, and that's because we only set the width of our element and we used padding only to the top and the bottom of our button. But if we use, for example, 20 pixels at the left and the right of our buttons, the difference would be much bigger, like this. If we used a content box value to this property, our elements would got bigger and didn't fit in one line. But that's just a bonus. That wasn't in the assignment. I just wanted to show you this. This is what we were supposed to do. Box sizing border box and our padding at 20 pixels and 0. And now let's handle our hover pseudo class so that when we will hover on our buttons, the font color and the background color will change. What we need to do is to refer once again to our A tag but now with the pseudo class of hover, like this. And when we hover to our element, its color should change to white, and its background color should change to dark gray, specified as 333 in the hex number. Let's see if this works. When we hover on our buttons now, we can see the difference at once. So this is how I would do this assignment. Your methods could be a little bit different, but if the effect is the same or very similar, you can see right here on your screen, you are perfectly fine with this assignment. And now I want to show you a bonus. As you can see, the change of the colors after hovering is instant, but we can change it. We can set a smooth transition between those states when the color is changing. What we need to do is to use the transition property like this, and we have to set the time of this transition. It could be 1 second, for example. Let's save it. Let's see if it works, and we can see that change takes 1 second to apply. Of course, it's too much time to place on the website. We usually set it to 1.3 or 1.2 seconds. It's totally up to you when you create a website and see how this works and how does it look. Now you can see this transition is good, and we can set it on our website exactly like this. Once again, some bonus info about the transition. We should place this property inside our basic CSS rule, not in our hover CSS rule, because it might cause problems and do not work as it should. We should always use the unit, which are the seconds, because without it, our transition won't work. You can see it's instant. And the last bonus info, if we place a time that is less than a second, for example, half of a second or 0.7 of the second, this 0 at the beginning is not necessary. All we can do is to place the dot and the value after the dot. For example, half a second, we can see it works perfectly. But let's keep it with the 0.3 seconds. And this is the effect we will get. And that's all for this section. I hope you managed to do this assignment by your own, and I can't wait to see you in the next section.